Have you ever noticed that often, no matter how beautiful, smart, or even devoted a woman is, the man by her side still doesn't truly value her? It's as if he simply doesn't see everything she does, as if her efforts are invisible. And then comes the great frustration. She wonders what she's missing. Is it her appearance? Is it the way she talks? Does he simply not love her? The truth is that it's none of those things. There is something deeper inside men's heads that few people understand. Today, I'm going to show you that men only truly value a woman for 3 very specific attitudes. And the curious thing is that almost no one practices these attitudes on a daily basis. That's why many women end up stuck in relationships where they give everything but receive almost no attention, affection, or respect. Others, who don't seem to try so hard, end up being put on a pedestal because they get it right on these hidden points that stir the mind of any man. And I'll say this up front. It's not about manipulating, it's not about playing games, it's not about pretending to be someone you're not. On the contrary, these are simple, genuine behaviors that require more courage than perfection. But the thing is, most people don't have the courage to apply them because they go against what most people usually teach about relationships. And that's why few women actually manage to be truly valued by a man. Now think about it. How many times have you heard phrases like always be available, show affection all the time, put him first in everything? It sounds nice, doesn't it? But in practice, it has the opposite effect. When a man feels he has everything without effort, without challenges, without clear limits, his mind automatically turns off the appreciation button. What is given freely, without criteria, loses its value. This is natural for human beings, and in the male universe it is even more evident. This is where the secret lies. A man only begins to truly value when he perceives 3 very specific behaviors. These are what awaken respect, admiration, and constant desire. These are what make his mind switch out of automatic mode and see you as someone unique and irreplaceable. The most impressive thing is that these attitudes do not depend on beauty, age, or status. Any woman can put them into practice, as long as she has clarity and inner strength. So, before we get into these 3 fundamental points, I want you to stay with me until the end of this video, because each of these attitudes on its own already makes a difference. But when you understand all 3 together in the right order, the impact is enormous on the way a man sees you. And I know you may be thinking, is this really true? I understand you. Life has shown you that it's not always easy, that logic doesn't always work, that many times you've given everything and received nothing in return. But here's the difference. What I'm going to reveal today is not based on assumptions or cliches. It's pure male psychology, explained in a simple way so you can understand how his mind works. And if I can give you a warning before I continue, this knowledge can change not only how you deal with men, but also how you see yourself. Because when you understand what attitudes elicit appreciation, you begin to realize your own value. And then the big turnaround happens. It's no longer about begging for attention or waiting for recognition. You simply become someone impossible to ignore. In the end, you'll see that it's not expensive gifts, long messages in the middle of the night, or promises of eternal love that make a man value you. What really counts are these 3 simple and impactful attitudes that I'm going to reveal in a moment. And when you start practicing them, you'll notice the difference not only in his gaze, but also in the balance of the relationship. Because a man who truly values you cares for you. A man who truly values you respects you. And a man who truly values you doesn't let you slip away. So if you're tired of being underestimated, if you're tired of feeling like you give a lot and receive little, stay with me until the end. Because starting today, you'll have in your hands the map that almost no one has the courage to reveal. The first attitude that makes a man truly value a woman is to set clear boundaries from the beginning. And here I'm not talking about creating cold walls or deliberately distancing yourself, but rather showing, in a firm and natural way, what you accept and what you will never accept in a relationship. Many women believe that to win a man over, they must always be understanding, patient, and open to everything. But in practice, this has the opposite effect. When a man realizes that he can cross any line without consequence, his brain understands that there is no real value there. It's like a game without rules. It quickly loses its appeal. Now imagine a simple situation. A man agrees to meet you, but always arrives late without warning. If you pretend that everything is fine, he understands that your time is not important. But when you calmly show that you don't accept this kind of attitude, he realizes, even without thinking too much about it, that he needs to adjust if he wants to continue with you. This kind of boundary, set early and consistently, triggers a signal of respect in his mind. And where there is respect, appreciation is born. The key point is, men test. Sometimes, without realizing it, they test the limits of the people around them. It's as if their minds are programmed to see how far they can go. And when they find someone who doesn't have the courage to say no, that instinct relaxes, and they stop valuing them. But when they find a woman who knows how to say enough, who knows what she deserves and shows it, his mind lights up with the warning, this woman is not like the others. I need to pay attention, but I know what you might be thinking. If I set limits, he might walk away. And the truth is, yes, that can happen. But if a man walks away just because you showed that you won't accept anything, it means he would never truly value you. In this case, his pulling away is not a loss, it's protection. You eliminate early on someone who wouldn't have the courage to respect you, and those who stay, who continue even after encountering your boundaries, will start to look at you differently. Another important detail, setting boundaries is not about making long speeches or fighting over everything. It's about consistency. It's about showing, through small actions, that your life has basic rules. For example, if he only seeks you out when it's convenient for him, you don't have to beg for attention. Just don't accept the minimum. If he promises something and doesn't deliver, you don't have to make a scene. Just don't act like nothing happened. It is this silent firmness that deeply affects the male mind. Men value what requires effort. It's almost instinctive. Since ancient times, their mentality has been shaped by the idea of hunting, conquering, and overcoming challenges. When everything comes easily without criteria, the instinct shuts down. But when there is a clear line that cannot be crossed, the mind goes into conquest mode. He starts to see you as someone who cannot be treated any old way, and that automatically generates respect. Now stop and think. How many times have you been in situations where you knew you needed to set a limit but didn't have the courage? How many times have you put up with behavior that hurt you just to avoid a fight? And what was the result? Probably the man didn't change. In fact, he realized he could keep repeating it and maybe even got worse. This happens because when there are no boundaries, his mind sees no reason to change. And here's the hard but liberating truth. A man only truly values you when he understands he can lose you. And he only understands this when you show him that there is a line that, if crossed, will have consequences. This is the first attitude that almost no one has the courage to put into practice, but it separates underestimated women from those who are truly respected. So remember, setting limits does not drive a man of value away. On the contrary, it brings him closer. Because real men don't run away from strong women, they respect them. The second attitude that makes a man truly value a woman is to keep her own life first, even within the relationship. And before anyone thinks this is selfish or cold, let me warn you, it's not about ignoring the man or living as if he doesn't matter. It's about understanding that if you extinguish your own light to live only for his life, sooner or later, he will stop seeing the sparkle in you. Men by nature admire women who have their own lives, who have plans, interests, and dreams beyond dating. This awakens something very strong in their minds, admiration. And admiration is the basis of respect and appreciation. Without admiration, the relationship becomes routine, a burden, an obligation. Think of a simple scene. At the beginning of the relationship, you had your projects, your hobbies, your friends, your commitments. He saw you full of energy, independent with a life happening, and that was enchanting. But over time, many women make the mistake of putting all that aside to live only for the man. They cancel commitments, abandon dreams, put the relationship above everything else. And that's when, without realizing it, her value begins to decline. Why? Because the man realizes that he no longer needs to make an effort to be part of her life. After all, his life has already become the center of hers. And here's the truth that almost no one talks about. What keeps a man interested is not being the center of everything, but feeling that he needs to earn his place in the life of a woman who is already complete in herself. When a woman maintains her routine, continues to take care of herself, and keeps investing in her projects, she sends a silent but very clear message. I'm with you because I want to be, not because I need to be. This detail changes everything in a man's mind, because when he understands that you have options, that you are not emotionally dependent on him, that your life has value even without him, his mind triggers a powerful response, the fear of losing you. And the fear of losing you is the fuel for appreciation. Now pay attention. Keeping your life in the foreground is not being inflexible. It is not refusing company. It is balance. It is being present in the relationship, but without giving up what defines you. It is showing that even though you love him, you do not stop loving yourself. Imagine a woman who loves to dance. When she starts dating, she stops going to classes because he doesn't like it. At first, he may even see this as proof of love. But over time, this choice takes away an essential part of who she is. The result? She loses her sparkle, and he loses his admiration. On the other hand, when she continues dancing, even if he doesn't participate, what happens? He sees her happy, notices the energy it brings, and feels proud to be with someone who doesn't fade away. This generates respect. Men value women who don't abandon themselves, because deep down they know that if a woman is capable of giving up on herself, one day she may also accept being left by him. This creates a relationship without weight, without value. But when he realizes that even within the relationship you continue to be yourself, his mind registers. This woman doesn't depend on me to exist. I need to be careful not to lose the space I have in her life. And maybe you've already experienced the opposite. When you gave up everything, when you gave yourself 100%, when you made the relationship the only pillar of your life, what happened? Probably instead of receiving more attention, you received less. Instead of being more valued, you were less. This happens because a man only values what he recognizes as rare, and a woman who has her own life is rare. A woman who doesn't fade into the background, who doesn't diminish herself, who doesn't trade her dreams for convenience, that's the woman he can't ignore. So, keep this in mind. A man doesn't value you because you give yourself completely. He values you because, even though you give yourself, you remain whole. This is the second attitude that almost no one practices, but it makes all the difference. The third attitude that makes a man truly value a woman is knowing how to recognize and celebrate his value, but in a selective and sincere way. And here there is a huge difference between recognizing and flattering. Many women believe they need to praise all the time, that they need to constantly reaffirm how amazing he is, just to keep his interest. But the male mind notices when compliments are exaggerated or when they come from a place of need. Instead of generating respect, this creates complacency. He starts to think, I don't need to try hard, I already have recognition for free. The secret lies in giving genuine and selective recognition. Because when a man realizes that you don't praise just anything, that you don't applaud out of habit, but that your compliments carry weight, he begins to see each acknowledgement as an achievement. This awakens a powerful feeling in him. I need to continue to deserve this. Now understand this well. It's not manipulation. It's a basic principle of the human mind. We all value more what is difficult to achieve. If there were a coin lying on every street corner, no one would bend down to pick it up. But if we're talking about something rare, that few have access to, the value increases. This is exactly what happens with compliments from a woman. When you recognize a truly good attitude, when you celebrate his achievement, when you show that you notice the effort he made, his brain associates you with the feeling of victory. He feels proud to be seen by you. But if you recognize everything, without filter, the effect disappears. He comes to believe that he doesn't need to improve, because he already has guaranteed approval. Here's a simple example. A man comes home tired from work and still prepares something for you. If you truly recognize this gesture showing that you noticed the effort, he immediately understands that it was worth it. Next time, he'll be even more eager to do it again. Now, if he does something minimal, like getting up from the couch to get a glass of water and you treat him like a hero, over time the praise loses its weight. He understands that he doesn't need to surpass himself because anything already earns applause. The big key is selectivity. It's recognizing when there is real merit, when there has been dedication, when there has been courage. And above all, it's making it clear that you notice the effort, not just the result. This creates an invisible bond. He feels that he is being truly seen, and not just pleased out of obligation. Another important point, when you give selective recognition, you make room for him to strive for more. Men are motivated by challenges. When they understand that recognition is not automatic, they try harder to achieve. And the more he tries, the more value he gives you, because he unconsciously associates your presence with his own evolution. And here's the part that almost no one realizes. Men value women who know how to recognize them, because deep down they also need this to feel like men. It's not about feeding the ego. It's about reinforcing his identity as someone who makes a difference. When you give sincere recognition, you not only strengthen his self-esteem, but also create a bond of loyalty. He begins to see you as the woman who inspires him to be better. But of course, everything needs balance. Recognition is not accepting anything. You can't praise attitudes that don't match what you want in a relationship. If he disappears, if he fails, if he doesn't try hard, you shouldn't use recognition as a bargaining chip. Recognition only has value when it goes hand in hand with clear boundaries and your emotional independence. Precisely the two attitudes we saw before. Do you see how the three are connected? When you set boundaries, you show respect. When you put your life first, you show that you admire yourself. And when you show selective appreciation, you show that you also know how to admire others. This combination is rare. That's why few women are truly valued. And that's also why when a man finds someone like that, he never forgets her. Deep down, the male mind works in a simple way. He values what is not easy to have, what requires effort, and what generates pride. And these three attitudes deliver exactly that. Now that you understand the three attitudes that make a man truly value a woman, I want to show you how this happens in practice, through stories that may seem common, but reveal exactly how the male mind reacts. Consider Anna's story. She started dating Daniel. In the beginning, as with many couples, everything was new. Constant messages, exciting dates, declarations of affection. But as the months went by, Daniel began to exhibit behaviors that could become problematic. He would arrive late without warning, cancel dates at the last minute, and expect Anna to always be available. What would have been the most common reaction? Pretending that everything was fine, for fear of losing the relationship. But Anna did something different. She took the first step. She set boundaries. The first time Daniel tried to change plans suddenly, she responded calmly but firmly. Look, if you can't make it, that's fine. But I'm not always going to be available either. I have other things to do. Daniel's reaction was immediate. First, surprise. Then, respect. And from then on, he started to organize himself better. Why? Because he realized he couldn't act any way he wanted. Anna scored points not for being harsh, but for showing that her time was valuable. Now think about Julia, a woman full of energy, passionate about photography. When she started dating Marcelo, she continued to pursue her hobby, going out to take pictures, taking courses, and living her passion. Many friends said, "You should put that aside to devote more time to him." But Julia knew the second attitude, to keep her life in the foreground. The result? Marcelo never settled. On the contrary, he admired Julia precisely because he saw her as an independent woman who didn't need him to be happy. This increased his pride in being by her side and strengthened his desire to stay together. Because every time he saw her fulfilled, he thought, "I can't let this woman get away, she's rare." And then there's Carla. Unlike the others, she always exaggerated her compliments. But in a new relationship with Andre, she decided to change. Instead of acknowledging every little gesture, she began to value only what really mattered. When Andre made an effort to organize her birthday, she showed him how much it meant to her. When he showed patience in a difficult situation, she sincerely acknowledged it. The result was clear. Andre began to want to improve himself more and more because he understood that Carla's compliments were not guaranteed. They did not come for free. He knew he had to earn them. This is the third attitude, selective and genuine recognition. These stories show something essential. These attitudes do not demand anything impossible. They do not depend on money, beauty, or status. They are choices of attitude, and each one of them changes the way men see women. Now think about your own life. How many times have you failed to set boundaries for fear of losing someone? How many times have you put yourself second, thinking that would make him value you more? How many times have you given too much praise just to please? You probably realized that none of this worked. And it didn't work because it doesn't generate respect. It doesn't create admiration. It doesn't spark motivation. But here's the good news. It's possible to change. It doesn't matter if you're already in a long-term relationship or if you're just starting one. When you apply these three attitudes, clear boundaries, your own life, and selective recognition, the dynamic changes. The man stops seeing you as someone ordinary and starts seeing you as someone rare, irreplaceable. And I know you may be thinking, but what if he doesn't accept it? What if he walks away? I say, if he doesn't accept a woman who values herself, he would never be able to truly value her. The one who stays who remains even in the face of these attitudes is the one who will see you as you deserve. Now you know. Men only value a woman for 3 attitudes that almost no one practices. And if you stop to think about it, these 3 attitudes complement each other like pieces of a puzzle. The first is to set clear boundaries. This shows that you respect yourself, that your time is valuable, that you don't accept just anything. The second is to keep your life first, even within a relationship. This makes him see you as someone who is complete, independent, and shines on her own. And the third is to give selective and genuine recognition. This feeds admiration, creates motivation, and makes him strive to deserve to be with you. Now imagine the effect of these 3 together. You become a woman who not only attracts attention, but also maintains that attention. A woman who doesn't have to chase after anyone, because her posture naturally commands respect. And most importantly, you not only earn his respect, but you learn to respect yourself. This is the truth that many do not realize. The appreciation they seek so much begins within them. When you value yourself, when you understand your worth and convey it in every attitude, you create an energy that is impossible to ignore. It's as if you were saying, without words, I know who I am, I know what I deserve, and I will not accept less than that. Men notice this. They may not be able to explain it, but they feel it, and that perception changes everything. A man who finds a woman with this attitude does not treat her as an option. He treats her as a priority. Now think about your life again. Maybe you've already given your all, given up your dreams, praised others without measure, and still not been valued. That didn't happen because you weren't good enough. It happened because you hadn't yet put into practice these attitudes that awaken what is deepest in the male mind: respect, admiration, and the fear of loss. And I'll be honest, it's not easy to change overnight. Setting boundaries requires courage. Keeping your life first requires discipline. And recognizing selectively requires emotional intelligence. But the reward is enormous, because when you apply these attitudes, you stop begging for love and start living in relationships where you are naturally respected. And the most liberating thing is that you lose your fear of loss, because you understand that if a man can't handle your boundaries, doesn't support your dreams, and doesn't strive to be recognized, he doesn't deserve to be in your life. And when this filter starts to take effect, you attract men who really know how to value you. So if there is one final message here, it is this: don't be afraid to be firm. Don't be afraid to put yourself first. Don't be afraid to recognize only when there is merit. These 3 simple and powerful attitudes are the key to transforming the way men see you. And if you've made it this far, it's because you want more than crumbs. You want a relationship with respect, reciprocity, and true appreciation. Starting today, you know where to begin. Before I close, I ask you for 2 simple things. First, if this video has opened your eyes, share it with other women who need to hear this, because almost no one talks about these truths. Second, leave your comment below. I want to know which of these 3 attitudes you already practice and which you need to develop further. Your experience can help other women on the same journey. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, now is the time. Here you will always find content about the male mind explained in a clear, simple, and direct way, so that you never feel lost in a relationship again. Remember, you deserve to be valued, and the key is in how you position yourself. See you in the next video.